Okay, so in the case of wireless microphones, like I mentioned the other day, there are a bunch of advantages. You're not tied to a cable necessarily, but there's a whole other deal of like issues that come with using wireless. If you're operating the board, you have to make sure that your receiver is turned on and that that receiver is plugged into a dedicated channel. If those connections aren't good, you're not going to get anything. Another issue is that your transmitter might not be synced to the appropriate receiver channel. It's like you're trying to watch channel 13, but channel 10 is broadcasting. So you got to make sure that those are in sync. Another really stupid user issue is not replacing batteries. Okay, this one uses 9-volt batteries. If you don't charge them up and you don't swap them out, this thing ain't going to be broadcasting anything. So make sure that your batteries are good. From there, again, wear and tear. Sometimes the issue is the microphone itself. Okay, these things get pretty banged up in theater events. People are running around, dancing, singing, acting. If this cable is bad, it can be replaced, but it's costly. The same thing with this mic capsule. If you're wearing a lot of makeup and you're on stage and this thing gets all caked up or even wet from sweat, it's just not going to work. So in that case, you do have to swap out the equipment. It's not a user error. It's an equipment malfunction. And then finally, one thing that I experience all the time in the auditorium is somebody accidentally hits the button on top or on the side of the wireless microphone, and they unknowingly mute themselves from the pack. And so they're talking and everything. I'm seeing that there's a signal because the receiver is in sync. However, I'm not seeing that light flash, so I know it's connected, but it's not broadcasting, which to me either means that the microphone came unplugged. Actually, no, the microphone wouldn't come unplugged because it's broadcasting, but the user muted themselves by accident, and I can't fix that from over here. They have their own mute button, and I have my own channel mute button. So that's just another thing that pops up when people mute themselves by accident. And then other things like if you're using wireless and you go behind a cinder block wall and you have to read a line off stage, if that transmitter and receiver are not able to penetrate that barrier, you're going to run into issues where the signal cuts out. Similarly, if you're just out of range, if you walk too far away from the receivers, it's still not going to broadcast. So you have to be within a very specific area. Most of the time, it's not equipment failure. This equipment is made to be pretty durable. It's very rugged. It's meant to be thrown around a little bit, but occasionally things do just get destroyed and you need to replace. 9 times out of 10, it's user error. Okay, user error. You need to know this microphone is plugged into this cable. This cable goes down to the gain. If you're routing effects, make sure the effects are set. Make sure it's unmuted. Make sure your channel fader's up. Make sure your output faders are up. Make sure everything's plugged in. Here's another issue. Your guitar player's on stage. He plugs into his amp. He's got a microphone in front of the amplifier, and he's playing guitar. I can see a little bit of a signal on here, but his amp isn't like pushing out the distortion. I can see the mic is working, but there's nothing coming out of his amp. Maybe his amp is turned off. Sometimes it's also a power issue, right? If I'm not getting any signal to my board and there's no lights on, am I getting power? Am I plugged in here? Is my power turned on in the back? It sounds stupid, but it happens all the time. Or some guitar player plugs his guitar in and he's got a pedal on stage that he uses his foot to like stomp and change the effects. Sometimes the stomp pedal goes bad, and all of that signal is relying on power. So you just got to sort of follow through and like figure out, okay, so-and-so's plugged into that, that goes plugged into that cable's running into this channel, follow that channel. Try to eliminate the issues at the board, but if you're not seeing a signal come in, then it's most likely something going on the stage side. If you're seeing something coming in and you hear like the hissing or whatever, you know the speakers are good, so that eliminates that problem. and you can sort of work your way from the source side and the output side and work your way to the middle. All right, that's the best advice I have for troubleshooting the most stupid, the most common sound issues. And sometimes you're going to be dealing with people on stage who don't know how to fix those issues themselves. So that's where you come in, you and your crew. You got to know what's up. You got to know where to go, what plugged into what, and troubleshoot it, because the show must go on, and people are relying on you to make that experience happen. So troubleshoot away. Let me know.